It was a typical boring day in calculus, only it was Friday, 7th period, meaning that this week was almost over and spring break would be finally upon us. So everybody was getting antsy in their seats. I could tell. We didn't have a test that day like a lot of my friends did with their other teachers. So our teacher, in the middle of class, decided to start playing games with us. He was a very laid-back teacher like that. As we were doing some brand logo quiz, I remember the exact moment it happened. Right after my friend answered a question, and I remember the answer too. It was Adidas. The dean's voice came through on the loudspeaker. He sounded panicked and frantic as he told all the teachers that this is not a drill and we were going to go into lockdown. I actually got the chills and I got goosebumps on my arms as our usually laid-back teacher seemed to be panicking as well, as he turned and ran to turn the lights off and ushered us to the back corner of the room. We all sat there in silence for about 2 minutes, and then the usual buzzing that came from a panel in the back room ceased, indicating that the school must have had all the power cut. We all looked at each other, realising that this must be serious. A few more minutes of waiting later, we heard a man screaming at the top of his lungs, coming down the hallway. 2 girls in the class actually just started crying, which made all of us even more scared. As the screaming got closer to the classroom, the lunatic-sounding man started banging on the lockers while screaming, "I'll unalive you all." It was at that moment that I started to fear for my life. My teacher tried to shush us as we all looked at each other to see our peers' reactions. The banging then moved from the lockers to our classroom door, and that's when one of the crying girls screamed, and the banging on the door only grew worse as the man started screaming, "Open up." 2 of the girls in the classroom were crying out loud now. It felt like an eternity that man was pounding at the door. But eventually, he finally continued down the hallways, screaming like a mentally insane person, until we could not hear him anymore. I'd say 10 minutes later, though it felt like half an hour given the situation, the dean came back on the loudspeaker explaining the situation, which was surprising for him to do. He explained that some apparently mentally unstable person entered the building and assaulted the woman sitting at the front desk, causing her to flee the building screaming, and the staff wasn't sure if the man was armed or not. Now, this was before the school had cameras or could afford proper security, so the school was wide open to something like this happening. The staff had done a sweep of all the hallways and classrooms and couldn't find him, so the dean instructed teachers to resume teaching but to keep all the doors locked and to not let any students leave for any reason. The most disturbing part, however, is that one of the janitors working the night shift found the man sleeping in one of the storage closets near the back end of the school, and according to rumours that were spread by my peers, sticking out of his pocket was a .44 Magnum. The janitor must have done something stupid to wake him up, for example leaving the closet door open, because by the time a police officer could arrive on scene, the man was gone. My entire class, as far as I know to this day, has no idea if that man was ever found. But I like to think that right now he's being given the proper help that he needs. My school has 2 lunch periods. First lunch period is for all 6th graders and some 7th graders. The second lunch period is for the other half of the 7th graders and all 8th graders. The lockdown happened in the beginning of October. The day the lockdown occurred, it was overcast and rainy. During the first lunch period, I heard 4 loud booms. I personally thought it was just thunder, but the entire lunch crowd started screaming. I was thinking those kids were just crazy. But the campus security came in and started yelling at people to go into the multi-purpose room, and the kids who were in the lunch line buying lunch had to throw out their lunch and come inside. My friends and I went inside the room along with a huge group of other kids. Everyone was curious as to what was happening. Our multi-purpose room is huge and the back wall of the room is made of see-through glass. When me and my friends were rushed inside, the campus security was covering the glass with the curtains, and there were adults at every exit. My friend Eric was curious as well, as the rest of us, so he asked one of the adults what was going on, and when he came back, he said, "You know how in front of the TMS there's those houses?" And I replied, "Yeah, well, there's this mentally disabled crazy man that's barricaded himself in front of his house and he's threatening to hurt himself and kill the cops if he's evicted. He's walking around outside of school watching kids in a weird way, Eric told us. It turned out the man was also a registered schmack offender. Making matters worse, we were stuck in the multipurpose room for a whole hour, taking up 2 periods. After the whole thing was settled, we were escorted to our classrooms one by one. I later found out that the man lives next to my friend Brandy, who told me about a previous Halloween encounter when she saw the same man at his window cutting his arm and writing in his own blood, "Don't come here or I'll unalive you," on his window. Of course, with it being Halloween, people just, including Brandy, assumed it was just a holiday. After this horrific incident, we knew this man was mental, and we're glad he never got near us. I'm 22 years old, fresh out of college, and I recently got a job at my old high school as a sort of computer intern in the school basement. The basement of the school is very messy and disorganised, but there is a small 3-person office that's actually quite nice down there. It has 3 big nice desks, 2 mini fridges, a flat screen TV mounted on the wall, and also satisfying air conditioning. A luxury students and teachers cannot enjoy in the school, and of course, all the school servers and other computery stuff are down there too. I got the job because 3 of my old computer teachers flat out adored me, and I could actually consider them as real friends, not just teachers. So they all helped me tremendously in landing this great job. It's been great until something that happened a few weeks ago. My 2 co-workers that share the office with me, Dave and Gary, weren't in the office at the time. They were upstairs working on papers or whatever. I was eating my sandwich during lunch when I got a phone call from one of the women in the front office telling me that the school was on lockdown and that somebody, possibly armed, had entered the school. There wasn't much that I could do other than turn off the lights, because surprisingly, as nice as this little office was, it didn't have an actual door to it. Just a big opening, and the door to the whole basement didn't even have a working lock for my own safety. I did turn off all the lights in the office and my computer screen. I kept my phone on the desk, texting in bulk Gary and Dave, but they wouldn't respond. I sat down there in the dark playing games on my phone for like 20 minutes, waiting for the call from up front to tell me that I can resume working. I had no idea what was happening. I couldn't hear what was going on upstairs from down there, but I was not allowed to make any calls until I was informed that the lockdown was over. Then the noisy basement door opened as the creaking echoed across the basement and into my office. I sat up from my seat wondering if I should call out for Gary or Dave. Someone then came running down the stairs and their footsteps were approaching my office. I pushed away from my chair and crawled under my desk. Somebody entered the office but did not turn on the lights. There was just silence. I cannot describe the fear I was experiencing. I felt like if I made one sudden move, I'd be a dead man. Suddenly, my phone dinged as I got a text message. I felt my entire world shrivel up and die at that one moment. As I clenched my teeth and fear, footsteps suddenly moved closer to me until I finally dug out from under the desk, begging whoever it was not to unalive me. And just then, someone grabbed my arm and pulled me up. It was some guy in a red plaid button-up jeans and a reddish-black cap. He told me it's okay, I'm just hiding here with you. What's going on up there, I whispered. He kind of ignored my question and asked me if there's an exit down here. I told him yeah, just around that way. Before he could do anything else, I asked him, who are you? There was a brief moment of silence before he started explaining he was coming in to pick up his son when a teacher told him to hide. After his explanation, I checked my phone and saw the text I received was from Dave. It said, "This crap is crazy. Some guy with a shotgun unalived Mr. Buckley. He's wearing a red shirt and a hat. Whatever you do, don't come upstairs." I was about to reread the text again, but out loud to the man, until I realised it was him. I looked up and I felt my stomach sink. The man seemed to catch on to my suspicions. All I could think to do was to run for the upstairs. A gunshot echoed through the basement and I could hear the bullet ricochet off something. In the darkness, thank God, that bullet missed me. I made it upstairs. Fortunately, the police were waiting at all the exits, including the basement exit, and caught the man the second he opened the door. More good news is our teacher, Mr. Buckley, survived the pew shot. It was later determined that the man and Mr. Buckley had some beef for whatever reason, but that was never revealed. All we know is that Mr. Buckley couldn't have done anything that would have warranted this kind of reaction, and I know that the sound of that gunshot will forever echo in my mind.